Winchester big bore 10 and big bore 44, 10 millimeter and 44 Magnum. Our 10 millimeter is a 200 grain semi-jacketed hollow point rated at 1175 feet per second. Our 44 Magnum is a 240 grain semi-jacketed hollow point rated at 1485 feet per second. These semi-jacketed hollow points are a lot closer to a soft point than what they are a hollow point, but being there's so much exposed lead on that 10 millimeter, that makes a perfect cartridge to use a revolver with, rather than, you know, try to run it through a semi-auto pistol and possibly not have it function very well. So 200 grain 10 millimeter and a 240 grain 44 Magnum have essentially identical sectional densities, and I'm using my 4-inch Smith & Wesson revolvers, so this should be a relatively fair test to test these things. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. We're going to go into plain clear ballistics to see what the best potential of those cartridges are, not have any denim or anything like that on the way to clog a hollow point, and just see how they perform with their best potential. Then after that, I'm going to do more of our real world simulation. 4 layers of denim on this first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After 3 inches, we'll have a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard that's going to represent hitting ribs or sternum. That'll be more of our real world simulation. And then I am going to shoot at our steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our 10 millimeter auto, 200 grain, rated at 1175 feet per second. I don't know what barrel length they use to get that. You see some numbers on the chronograph there. I've been using my 22 pistol when I come out here to make sure the chronograph will read correctly. And I think part of the issue is why sometimes I get error reads is I'm simply not going over the sensors correctly, and that 22 kind of helps me to line it up a little bit better. So 10 millimeter, right out, 1175. Let's see what I get here in my 4-inch Smith & Wesson 610. 1108. 1114. All right, no fire on that. I'm not using a moon clip with these chronograph rounds, so that could potentially be why that clicked like that. Very light primer strike. I'll try it again. $11.09. 1093. 1099. Let me go one more. No rate on that last one. Pretty consistent velocity, but we are definitely below that rated velocity. And you know, that Smith & Wesson 610, even though it has the amount of barrel travel and cylinder travel of about a 5-inch auto, the velocities generally match about a Glock 20 at the 4.6-inch barrel. So I would definitely say that that's the ammo and it's below rated velocity. Now I know we're not going to get velocity of 1485 with this 44 Magnum because this is a 4.25-inch barrel. Typically 44 mags rated through about a 6-inch barrel, but we'll see what I get here. So 1485 is its rating. Let's see what I get. 1140. 1111. 1117. Wow, 1058. 1099. So pretty similar velocity, but a 40 grain heavier of a bullet weight. All that being said, that's pretty pathetic performance for 44 Magnum, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. And with a gun like this, you might want to bring that power down a little bit better to control it a little bit better. So let's hit our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, the plain clear ballistics, our best potential test here. 10 millimeter auto. Let's see what this does. I expected that probably penetrated a lot. Now let's hit it with our 44 Magnum. Let's go take a look. All right, so I was going to shoot another shot into there to try to catch that 44 Magnum that we obviously had a complete pass through from, but I'll save that for our next shot here with our MDF in place, because I think it'd be kind of hard to stop that. So we got a lot of penetration going on. Each one of these blocks are 16 inches, because I got the 3-inch front piece here, so 35 inches of ballistics gel penetration. 35 inches. We went to 35 inches and it kept going. I think I saw a lot of dirt actually moving behind this when it went out, so it went with a lot of energy right through that thing. Our 10 millimeter, on the other hand, we caught that, and we caught it at 26 inches of penetration, so that's actually not too bad. I don't really see much mushrooming going on with that bullet. That's not too bad overall. And both of these caused a lot of damage. Our 44 mag did a little more damage. Our 10 millimeter, it's actually more than what you're seeing here, because it's kind of a flat cut where it's, you know, if I were to flip the block on the and show the bottom, it would be nearly as wide as that 44 mag. So not too bad overall. Let's put it on our denim, put it on our MDF, see how they compare in more of our real world simulation. All right, more of our real world simulation. 4 layers of denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics, a 1/4 inch MDF into more clear ballistics. At the end of those blocks, I have a towel that's folded to 16 layers. Hopefully that will catch the 44 mag. I don't think the denim's gonna affect this at all, because these were such small hollow points. So let's see what we get though with our 10 millimeter. All right, let me set that back up, take a look, and then I'm gonna hit it with the 44 mag. All right, 44 mag. Yeah, I think this is gonna go through all the way. I don't think that 1/4 inch of MDF is gonna make any difference, but we'll see if that bullet stop catches this. Let's go take a look. All right, so it does, I mean, it does appear to me that we caught this, because there is a hole right through here in this tape, and there's nothing coming off the back. I can feel something kind of hard back there, but what we got going on with our 10 millimeter is pretty typical of what you would expect. The MDF looks like it slowed down that penetration. We had 26 inches without the MDF in place, or about 26 and a half. And with this, actually we got the same, about 25 3/4 inches. I actually don't even really see any mushrooming of that bullet nose. And with our 44 mag, again, we passed right through that thing. I got the towel in my hand here. I'm going to try to take a look. So I'm going to open this up. I'll be back in just a second. All right, so I caught that 44 Magnum bullet. It looks like we went exactly halfway through that bullet stop. So 8 layers of towel that went through before that stopped. So we have denim in the front of that bullet also. So again, we had 35 inches of penetration along with you know, hitting that MDF, and we'll take a look at that. Yeah, pretty much what you'd expect. There's really nothing going on there. So looking at this, it looks like the 10 millimeter did a lot of damage, potentially from tumbling. I would say, I'm not sure, but that first clear ballistics shot actually is backwards, so it's safe to say these probably do tumble. So overall, looking at this, you know, the 44 mag obviously over penetrated, and it didn't impart a whole ton of damage in here. It just kind of zipped right through, and you know, we kind of saw that because this whole block didn't fly up. A lot of times you'll lose this front piece here and it'll fall onto the ground, but it didn't really shake this block very much. It just zipped right through. So definitely a very good penetrating round. That being said, I think our 10 millimeter, it's just a little more balanced. It, you know, it had very little recoil and quite a bit less than a 357 Magnum even, and yet we're still getting really good penetration here. So even though on the box, both of these boxes show a grizzly bear on the front, says big bore, yeah, they're kind of different. I would say quite a bit different for what you might want to use them for. I personally wouldn't think that 10 millimeter is quite enough for a bear, but I think it would be pretty good for maybe black bear or other dangerous animal defense, and also personal defense against two-legged creatures because our penetration wasn't too extreme. That 44 mag, I would probably not use that in a handgun. And I mean, I might use it for bear defense, but even if I was going to hunt whitetail or something, I probably really wouldn't want to use it. It seems like a lot of penetration with not a ton of damage. It's pretty good, but not a ton. So let's take what's left of these out of the block. We'll take a close-up look at them. Then I'm going to shoot our steel, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. All right, so here's a close-up look at what bullets I caught. I couldn't catch the 44 Magnum through the plain gel shot, but here is our 10mm auto. Not a whole lot going on with nose deformation. You know, not really much of a hollow point there. And when we look at our shots going through our medium density fiberboard, we briefly saw the 44 mag already that we caught in that towel material. It actually captured a lot of the denim and carried that through as well before it hit the towel. But really no expansion. Now we caught our 10mm going through the MDF, and it looks pretty much like the one going through our plain gel. You know, you got some imprinted denim pattern there on that nose, but really nothing other than that. So even though these are soft points, I don't think that soft point does a ton to slow it down or put damage in there. That being said, I think, you know, if this were like a flat nose full metal jacket or a hard cast, I do know it would go deeper. So there is a little bit of something going on where that energy pushing that lead down is slowing it down a little bit, but it doesn't really do a whole lot. So that's a close-up look at those bullets. All right, 25 yards from the target. I recently tested some Underwood hardcast ammo in 10mm 357 mag, 44 mag. I did kind of a quicker dangerous animal defense drill from 25 yards, and then I went back to 75 and did single action for a hunting scenario. So that's kind of what I want to do today. I will say that these 10mm rounds do stay in these moon clips really, really well. A lot of 10mm ammo actually, you know, the rims kind of wiggle around and they don't hold particularly well in these moon clips, but it's like the brass is a little bit thicker on these 10mm. I'm wearing a glove on my left hand because that 44 mag puts a lot of blast out that kind of burns my thumb. So 25 yards, I'm going to pull up, I'm going to get a sight picture. I'm just going to pop off what's in these revolvers, try to hit center mass. And what I was saying before is that's kind of like a grizzly bear simulation. And I want to clarify, the middle of the target is what I was saying is basically the size of a grizzly bear's head. And being at 25 yards, if it were approaching, there'd be actually a bigger target as it got closer. So it's actually kind of more difficult to shoot continually at 25 yards and hit. So I think it's a decent simulation to do. So 10mm, let's see how these do for me. Exactly the same thing that happened last time. Our moon clip is binding up just a little bit. So it shoots pretty well, but sometimes it's like after I fired a few rounds doing these tests, I do clean these guns beforehand, you get just enough debris back there, and this is a .003 cylinder gap. It's a very tight gap on that 10mm. It's just enough to make that bind up just a little bit. So that's specific to my gun, might not be to your revolver in 10mm, but let's see how I can do with our 44 mag. Very hard hitting, and actually pretty controllable for what it is. So I kind of like a round like this where it's pretty low end for 44 mag, but it's, you know, just right where I want it to be in a gun like this. And actually the cases eject pretty well, so they're not swelling that big. A lot of times I can't even get them out hitting the thing. So I think that's a pretty good round for this particular revolver. So let me paint that back up. I'll go back to 75 yards. I'll shoot single action for kind of a hunting simulation, see how these do for me. All right, 75 yards from the target. I also want to mention that I think that binding up with that moon clip Could either be a bent moon clip, or it could be just user error with me putting those in there and not checking, make sure it goes in right. Because I did notice I had to force that other moon clip in, but with this one, this different moon clip, I just drop it and it goes right in. So I think it's just that moon clip thing going on. If I was going to carry a gun like this, I'd probably cock the hammer, put my thumb behind the hammer, and hold the hammer spur, let it down. Do this several times to make sure that that's rotating before I carried it. So I think it was just that moon clip issue. So 75 yards, I'm gonna go single action, as if I'm trying to take an animal, maybe, you know, a white-tailed deer or something. You know, that's pretty much the same center size. It might be the wrong up and down. It needs to kind of be side to side, but same difference here. So let's see what I can do with our 10 millimeter. Not sure where that hit. Alright, so that 10 millimeter is so low recoil, so predictable. It's just pleasant to shoot. It's kind of like shooting 44 special or something. It doesn't have hardly any recoil out of that revolver, which is not the same when it comes to this. This thing is not fun. So see what I can do with our 44 mag. Alright, so I did not adjust my hold, even though I knew that that first shot was going over the target, because I wanted to make sure it wasn't me. And I had 3 impacts that were above the target. Downrange parallax will make it look like it's hitting maybe to the right or something like that. That's just the way the camera picks it up, but it's actually, it was hitting above the head on that target by, you know, maybe 3 feet. So I'm gonna aim below it, see how this does. So yeah, I probably fired a little faster than what I should have if I was actually trying to take an animal. But this stuff, you know, 44 Magnum in general is not pleasant to shoot out of this L-frame revolver, so sometimes I speed it up to get it over with. All that being said, it wasn't too bad of recoil. I felt a lot worse. Now with our 10 millimeter, very soft shooting, very low recoil. So I'm going to say I actually like this ammunition. It's predictable in what it does. It might not do a lot of damage and it might over penetrate, but it's really predictable. And sometimes you want that predictability. So if somebody asks me, you know, I want something that's kind of like a hard cast, but I don't want all that recoil of an Underwood, and I want something that, you know, does okay and penetrates really far and will shoot really well in my, you know, little 329 PD or something like this Model 69 or even the shorter barrel, I'm gonna say I actually think this is pretty good ammo for something like that. You know, it's pretty pathetic 44 Magnum, but I think it has a little bit of a niche where it can be useful in guns like this, or for certain purposes where you want a ton of penetration. Now our 10 millimeter, I think that's a pretty good cartridge. I would class that kind of the way I do with a lot of rounds, where I say it's kind of in between a personal defense round and a dangerous animal defense round, where it'll put most of its damage into a target. It'll probably pass through a 2-legged target, but it would, you know, not by much, and it would put a lot of damage into that, and, you know, be pretty good at stopping a threat. But I also think it would penetrate pretty deep in a dangerous animal, and I think it would do pretty decent for hunting. So I think overall, as a general purpose 10 millimeter, that's not bad. So even though the energies on these are pretty pathetic, they still have a use. They're still pretty good. So that's just my opinion on that. You can tell me what you guys think, but that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.